Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to this episode of the Holistic Healing with Lorrie podcast. I'm your host, Lorrie Rivers of Lorrie Rivers Holistic, and today we're going to be talking about something you may not have realized is contributing to chronic symptoms and illness, and ultimately long-term health problems and difficulties in aging. And that's your skincare and cosmetics. So let's talk about some of the skin options that are truly natural ingredients and that maybe aren't exactly cheap, right? And I have some links down below to some really nice, high quality products, facial products mostly. But there is a reason, of course, that they're not as inexpensive as your drugstore options. And what you're going to look for is, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. Yeah. And actually, let's talk about this first. So some people in the cosmetic industry, they're going to try to argue that, hey, these ingredients have been tested and they've been shown potentially to be safe in these minute amounts. And we're talking again about like the junk food skincare. But when you take a step back from that, it's kind of a form of brainwashing that's happened over the years and decades to a lot of us. Because when you take a step back and you ask yourself, for example, petroleum products, does that make any sense to actually put those into my body? Are we really meant to consume petroleum products? This is just one example. No. How can you argue that we're supposed to, in any way, shape, or form, to eat petroleum? No. And it's not just one single ingredient. If you use deodorant, facial cream, once or twice. So I'm talking about what these studies are based on that say, hey, they're not dangerous. That's for like one or two uses that these studies are based on, or maybe over the time of like a month or something. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a lifetime of using these toxic products. 500 different chemicals a day with all these different products. And again, this builds up over time. It's like death by a thousand cuts, or the way that I describe things is that you have this body stress bucket or stress barrel, depending on where you are right now with it builds up over time with toxins, with stress, with pathogens in the body, with nervous system dysregulation, with all those things. So if we're continually putting extra toxins in, because we're also all exposed to toxins on a regular basis throughout our day, right? Then your stress bucket or your stress barrel starts to overflow. And that's when those symptoms start to show up. That's when you start to notice those symptoms. Yeah. So, if you're lucky, you've gotten away with it so far so that your stress bucket hasn't overloaded yet. It's not spilling over yet, but at some point it is going to catch up. It's just what's happening in this day and age. Now, I do believe that our bodies will, over time, over generations, will adapt, will evolve to be able to deal with all these new chemicals. But in the meantime, we just have to start being more careful. So, these days babies are born with chemicals already in their system. They're finding toxins in polar bears in Antarctica, in whales. We just live on a planet that has a lot of new chemicals and toxins in it. So let's not increase that. Yeah. So again, there are some great products out there that are actually beneficial to your whole body's ecosystem. Some of them are pricey, and then there are some that are kind of middle ground, and then there are some super simple ones. So if you want the fancier, more involved skincare, you might spend a few extra dollars on these skincare products that are combinations of things, and on also your cosmetics. And, you're going to end up spending more dollars on those. But the difference they make in your health, and even possibly in your daily energy for that matter, because of what the other chemicals do to your daily energy and your long-term health, it's well worth it. And I'm going to talk about some of the simpler, not so pricey ones in just a bit, but let's start out with some of the fancier options. And there are a few excellent product choices with these as well. So we're going to be talking about three specific components. There are lots of other ones out there, but let's start with these three. And these are really exceptional actually for helping to eliminate and avoid wrinkles, bags, around your eyes, um, and give you some tautness as well. So the first one is called bakuchiol, and this comes from the bobchi plant. And the bobchi plant is a plant that's native to Asia and Africa, and it's been deeply cherished in Indian and Chinese medicine traditions for very long time it's really. And as is often the case, modern research has shown that these ancient peeps, they really knew their stuff because bakuchiol is actually a natural wonder, really, when it comes to plumping the skin and reducing the appearance of wrinkles around the eyes, and on the face and, probably other areas of the body as well. It contains a range of antioxidants that also even protect your skin from future signs of aging. And it's so powerful that it's really being looked to in the natural skincare world as an alternative, a safe alternative to retinol. Now, it makes me, I miss retinol sometimes because I know what it made my skin look like when I used it properly. But I also know that there are risks involved with it. And most companies, even the internet, is not going to get into those risks. But if I read a label and it says that it's not recommended for pregnant women, that tells us something, right? So that's bakuchiol. Next up is hyaluronic acid, which is great for hydrating the skin. It can actually retain 1,000 times of its weight in water, which means that it also plumps up the face. It has antioxidant powers also. And then we're also talking about vitamin C. Now, there's a great hack for using vitamin C in your skincare that is actually super low cost that I'm not going to talk about today, but we can, I think we get into that in one of my Thrive programs. And this is a skincare component that you've probably heard of before. I mean, you've heard of vitamin C before, right? But it's a powerful fat soluble antioxidant, and it really helps to defend against photo aging, against UV induced damage. So maybe you were a sun bunny, back in the day, which is not a bad thing when done in the right way. But if you do have some sun damage, then it will help with that. It stimulates collagen synthesis, and it actually also helps to decrease collagen breakdown. And it helps out with hyperpigmentation as well. And then one more, and this is one of my personal favorites, I think mainly because it's purple. Copper tripeptide. This is GHKCU. And this is an amazing reparative peptide, and topically it really aids collagen and elastin production, but also internally. So in several of my programs, we use it internally, both orally, and then for some of my students, they actually use injections with this particular peptide. But lucky for you, you can also just use it topically, right? Now, I will say that I'm super psyched because Quicksilver Scientific, which is one of my favorite supplement companies out there, who also has an absolutely amazing skincare product, but they have a liposomal GHKCU, so copper peptide product that I think is going to be a game changer, because typically when you take most peptides orally, they are not systemic. They only can help out the GI tract, which of course is super helpful, but especially with something like GHKCU, with these copper peptides, and especially if you have been dealing with mold toxicities and things like that, then this can be a real helpful tool for your body to help to rebuild the the organs and also especially like the veins, and really at a cellular integrity level to help repair things in the body. I got off track a little bit there. So let's go back to also, if you're a woman over 40, adding in the right kind of estrogen to your skincare topical can be a game changer as well, right? And notice that I said the right kind of estrogen, because there is not just one type of estrogen, right? For a lot of us, when we think of the term estrogen and think about putting it in our bodies, we get a cancer scare. And I'll go into more detail about that in some upcoming podcast episodes, because that is absolutely not true. There was a flawed study around that. So once you get to perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, a lot of women experience this estrogen deficient skin, which means that things like loss of elasticity, dryness, fine lines, wrinkles, and a dull kind of uneven skin tone starts to happen because of that estrogen deficiency. So speaking of Quicksilver Scientific, one of my favorite products that contains all these components that I just talked about is their facial beauty serum. So I'm going to add a link to that, and it's reasonably priced, actually, reasonably priced. And, I'll also put links to some of my other favorite higher end products in the description, including my friends at Ella Skincare. They have this fantastic line of skincare products that are nourishing for the skin and the body. There's a lot of soul to these products as well, and they really keep the toxins at bay. They're protective as well as super effective. I love talking to this friend every once in a while over Zoom because her skin just glows. And she is very aware when she's developing these products of she definitely has people in mind who are already dealing with an overloaded liver, right? And with chronic issues. So we have a link for that as well. And let's wrap this up with talking about product. I went way longer than I thought I was going to, but this is important. This is important. So as for products that are simple and easier on the pocketbook, I've already mentioned some of those. Aloe vera, right? You might be thinking, well, yeah, duh, it's so obvious, and maybe that's just too simple, but oh my gosh, it helps. It's hydrating, it's nourishing, it helps with collagen and elastin. You just want to make sure that you're getting it from a pure source and that the company's extraction methods are non-toxic as well, right? So they might be actually using organic aloe, but if they are extracting and putting into a container using toxic methods, then you're still getting those toxins in the product. So, I came to this. We had used an organic brand for a while, and I opened a new container recently from them, and it smelled like petroleum. It smelled like gas. And so I have not used them since. The DMSO store has great aloe. It's super reasonably priced, and they are in the know about all this, right? That store also has pure lanolin. We talked about that earlier. It's another wonderful option. It's deeply moisturizing. Just keep in mind that some people do have lanolin allergies. So maybe just use a little bit on your arm first and see how that works out. Straight up vitamin E oil is a great choice. Just make sure, again, that you're getting a brand that is really well sourced and trusted, as is grass-fed beef tallow. US Wellness Meats is a great option for the beef tallow, and I recommend grass-fed beef tallow to my students and clients to eat too. I would say that it along with grass-fed ghee those are your two top nourishing fat options, and fat is so important. So that's incredibly healthy inside and out. For deodorants, ozone-based deodorants are great. They're a great choice. There's also a company that I love that is, I can't remember the name right now, but they make a product called Belly Fat Freedom. I'll see if Belly Fat Freedom is not the deodorant. It helps the body to detoxify. But yeah, I'll try to remember to put a link for that. For your shampoo, for your soap, and a bazillion other household applications, Dr. Bronner's soap is amazing, right? Oh, and I forgot to mention that you can use lanolin on your hair too. So there's so many good choices out there. I mean, I'm just touching the surface here, right? Just scratching the surface. I think that's the right term. So my recommendation for you right now, go ahead and order some of these inside and out nourishing choices. And while you're waiting for them to get to you, do an overhaul in your bathroom cabinet, in your shower, anywhere else in the house where you have, any of your lotions and chapsticks and all that stuff. And also, if it's anti-aging that you're interested in, which we have some great, amazing stuff in the Thrive programs at Lorrie Rivers Holistic around quote anti-aging. I'd really like to find a different term for that. But remember that if that's what you're interested in the long haul, these nourishing products that we're talking about here offer you more longevity inside and out, and more anti-aging properties than these ones that might yield more short-term results, but can result in long-term health issues. So we made it. If you'd like more information about my Thrive anti-aging courses or about any of my Heal programs for chronic health issues, make sure to sign up for our email list. We'll have a link for that. And please share this episode with loved ones who will benefit from it. I'll see you next time in our next episode. Big love, Lorrie.